Our next speaker is Paul Blomfield, MP for Sheffield Central and Labour Shadow Minister for exiting the European Union. He has the Labour portfolio for citizens' rights in connection with Brexit, and he comes fresh from yesterday's Westminster Hall debate on UK citizens in the EU, which also included a discussion of EU citizens' rights. So please welcome Paul Blomfield.
Thank you very much indeed, and I'm delighted to follow Dominic, who is one of the few public voices of reason in the Conservative Party, but I think speaks for many more who haven't yet stuck their head above the parapet. And so your lobby today is so important in pressing members of Parliament in all parties to have the courage that Dominic has shown in challenging his own government. Now, I know that you've come from every part of the UK and indeed many parts of the EU, 27 countries, and I'm delighted that you have. It's a tremendous turnout today, and it's a tribute to the campaign that you've run, which has been dignified, it's been clear, it's been making the case unambiguously that you are not bargaining chips. And I think that's exemplified today by the joint lobby. And I think that's really important, that it is the 3 million and it is the British in Europe standing together. The work of the 3 million has ensured that the government can't hide behind the vague reassurances, and we've tried to echo that work from the opposition in Parliament. But it is also vital that we consider the position of the UK nationals in the EU, who have been getting less attention, and that's understandable because those EU nationals here who live and work and make such an important contribution to our communities are lobbying us very consistently, and it's important that the British in Europe raise their voice, as Jane and colleagues have been. But it's also important because both the UK and the EU have said that in the discussions they're working on the basis of reciprocity on citizens' rights. So any proposal from the UK government for EU nationals should also be read as their expectations for how UK nationals in the EU 27 will be treated. Now, yesterday Labour secured a debate in Parliament on the rights of UK citizens in the EU, and I was delighted that Jane and colleagues from British in Europe were there. On the same day, evidence compiled by the 3 million on discrimination against EU nationals in the UK was the top story on the front page of The Guardian and echoed across much of the media. And I was delighted to work with the 3 million on that issue. But we need to be clear that whilst there were individual employers and landlords focused on in that article, the responsibility for the hostile environment is the uncertainty created by this government on this issue. We saw it with the 100 Home Office letters threatening EU nationals with deportation. Now, the Home Office have apologised, they said it was a mistake, but how on earth could that have happened? We saw it again with the leaked Home Office document last week with the plans for biometric screening and fingerprinting and time-limited residence permits. We see it every day that this government refuses to guarantee your rights. Every time that the government adds another design detail to the hostile environment for EU citizens here in the UK, we will challenge them. And we will also ask Is that what you also expect for for UK nationals in the EU 27? So that's why your joint efforts today are so critical and so powerful. The concerns of the 3 million and the 1.2 million come together, and they could have been resolved if the government had addressed this in good faith from day one. Now, Labour, with the support of other opposition parties, has pressed for that. It was one of the first issues that we took up just weeks after the referendum vote. We pressed a motion on the floor of the House of Commons calling for the unilateral granting of rights to EU nationals in the UK. And we were confident that if we took that lead, the EU 27 would reciprocate in relation to UK nationals in the rest of the continent. That motion was agreed by the House of Commons. But it was ignored subsequently by the government, and we will continue to push them to honour the decision of the Commons. And we're clear that that means all existing rights should be guaranteed. It's not enough simply to talk about rights of residence, but to talk about all rights, the rights of people to be able to work, the recognition of qualifications and all that goes with it, and the rights of family reunion. We're now over a year on from the referendum vote, and the 4.2 million are living with a cloud of uncertainty, all of you in this room. And we're very conscious of that. The September round of negotiations between the UK and the EU 27 was due to start next week. It's now been pushed back until the 25th of September, apparently to give our government more time to think. In that week, the government needs to realise that this round is critical for citizens' rights. They, together with the EU, have the public and moral duty to give you the reassurances and the clarity that you need and that you deserve. And your voice today, being here, lobbying my colleagues, is so important in ensuring that. Thank you.